Um, well, let me ask a question first. Maybe you're sleepy, feeling sleepy. The talks were interesting, though, the talks before. If I ask a question, do you know that an average person, that is you and I, eat, this is 3 years ago, eat about microplastic, or rather plastics, the size of a credit card for a month. So that is a lot of microplastic, or plastic for that matter. That finding, or the conclusion was 3 to 5 years ago, and now they say average person eats about a microplastic the size of a credit card per week. So that is, we are consuming without knowing. We don't say we are eating plastics or microplastics. It so happened, so much of plastics, microplastics are there in food that we consume. So that is the warning signal. So we have to be aware, and we have to take actions. How do we deal with this problem? So let me give you some background information. I know there are tons of documentaries, video presentations, talk shows about plastic pollution and microplastic, showing very interesting pictures. But let me show you some of this work that we have done, and the findings of the people from Sri Lanka. If I define microplastics, so these are tiny particles that's less than 5 micrometer size, and in nature it exists as 2 forms, or rather origin as 2 forms: primary microplastics and secondary microplastics. The primary ones, they are actually purposely manufactured, like those things in cosmetics and clothing, artificially synthesized clothing, etc. And then the secondary ones are those that break down from the larger plastic utensils and other the products, that is through mechanical forces and also by UV light. So most of these, they originate in the inland and then end up in the ocean. So we're going to talk about the marine plastic debris in the ocean, basically. So this is a picture actually about 7 years old. If we are to project it for today, but the pattern is the same. The numbers may be different. The darker the color, higher the amount of plastics or microplastics that is being mismanaged by different countries. So you can see where the darker colors are. And Sri Lanka have been depicted somewhat darker in this picture. So if you dig really deeper into the matter, and this table was taken from the same paper by Jenna Jambak. She's from the US, did a global study, wonderful study. But the problem here is that Sri Lanka was placed number 5 in the list, starting from the top, where the plastic mismanaged and the amount of plastic that is being sent to the oceans. Ocean pollution levels. Then the people in the country, the officials argued that this number here, it says the waste generated rate per person per day, the kilogram, the amount of plastics produced by per person per day, it says 5.1 kilogram. So the argument by the government officials, conservationists, MIPA people, NARA people, and also the environmental ministry personnel, they said this is way too much. In Sri Lanka, one person doesn't consume this much of plastics. The figure is wrong, and the figure that they gave was, it's 0.51 instead of 5.1. Okay, so that was the argument, and people didn't, okay, we thought, okay, Sri Lanka should be way down in the list. Should it be in the list still? We don't know if the figure was changed, but we are there somewhere, because later studies showed that some of the latest findings. The total quantity of plastic that is washed into the ocean, so it's huge. And the per capita contribution, the study says 3.3 kilograms. So that is a large number of plastics. And then who has to be blamed? There are so many, all these things are being talked about. It's in news articles, it's in documentaries, tourism, fishery, all those harbor operations, they all contribute to the pollution of oceans and contribution to the microplastic. These studies are very recent studies, gives those statistics. Okay, so microplastic work specifically, the background information is well established now. Studies have been done. There's how much is in seawater, beach sand, lagoon sediments, how much is in fish. These studies are not very extensive, but preliminary for observations have been made and published for Sri Lankan literature, and also in marine invertebrates. There are many studies on the way now, and these are some of these people who have contributed towards this. And recently, we carried out a study. We wanted to find out how much microplastic we eat in sea salt. We consume that every day. All this food is, spice. Rather, we cannot eat without adding salt into that. So we do use table salt. We call it a commercial table salt, and we also checked how much is there in the solvents, the raw salt. So we collected samples from the three solvents in the country, Elephant Pass, Putlam, and also Hambantota solvents. And also we collected table salt samples coming from all these three solvents as well as imported ones. Believe it or not, there are so many imported sea salt samples in the market. If you look at the label, if you turn around, see there are a lot of made in China, not microplastic, sorry, salt samples in the market. So the numbers are appalling. Like this bar shows how much of microplastic is present in the solvents, the three solvents. And if you look at the numbers in the three locations, the significant difference between Hambantota, Putlam, and Elephant Pass. Hambantota having the highest number, followed by Putlam, and the number at Elephant Pass was somewhat less. And you can see how statistically significant amount being contributed by these solvents. So these are some of the pictures taken from the different types of microplastics. And they come in different forms. They are fiber, beads, they are in different colors. So we can classify them. There's standard classification of microplastics found in natural habitats. So, and this is some of these, we actually tested 20 different salt brands. The amount of microplastic varied. We don't want to give specifically any information about the brand names, but all the brands had microplastics in it. And this bar shows the different types. Most of them had microfibers. Microfibers are mostly coming from the synthetic cloth material. And we did some chemistry. We analyzed this using FTIR to look at the little bit more details. By looking at details, we can really trace back to its origin. Where do they coming from? Where is this microplastic coming from? Where is this fiber coming from? So we kind of analyze this and trace it back to its origin later. All right, so there is the plastic in marine water. So the question is that mainly they originate in land and then finally end up in the ocean. So we also did another study in a freshwater stream. It's in Polgola area close by. It's called Ravan Oya tributary in Mahaveli River. We selected 4 sites. One site from a pristine area undisturbed, and then agricultural area, heavily urban area, and a semi-urban area. These four red dots are the areas. Okay, so we look at the microplastic levels in the surface water as well as in sediment. So these numbers show microplastic per cubic meter of water, and this is the microplastic level per kilogram of sediment. You can see the 4 bars are for the catchment area, the pristine, undisturbed, rural, urban, and semi-urban. So you can see the tall bar is always for the urban area. Surprisingly, the catchment area where we think that is an undisturbed still had some level of microplastics. So it's important to see, or rather interesting to see where they are coming from, what are they, where did they originated from. Okay, so the red circles in the map shows the magnitude of the level of microplastic contamination along the river in the sites that we did. So you can see the visibly, okay, also like this is the pristine area. You don't see anything, but as you go along the river down to the urban areas, you know, dumping of so many trash, large amount of plastic trash being dumped into the river, and you can see how the trash is being mismanaged. Okay, so those are some of the studies that we have carried out. In addition to this, we are also doing some studies looking at the microplastics in this water that we consume. This is not good. This is good. So from for the conservation conferences, we have to do away with it. I know this is given by the hotel, but I remember, I hope Lalit was also there at this conference in South Carolina, where we attended the sea turtle conference, conservation and biology conference. No plastic. No plastic bottles. They gave a mug for us to drink coffee. We have been using it throughout the conference, and they have water dispensers. Everybody had their water bottle. They carry water bottles. Conservationists carry their water bottle with them. That's a practice. And also, this is cloth. I observed that this is cloth. The conference didn't allow flex posters to be printed. Nobody brought flex posters for the conference. They all cloth or paper, recyclable material. You know, people argue that paper has also issues, but this is natural material. So likewise, you have to practice what you preach. Going back to the research that we are doing, we are looking at the microplastics that we drink in these bottles. This is underway. We are also looking at the longitudinally, keeping the bottle from day 1 to 1 year and see how much it varies. Same brand, same product from the same company, and how it varies with time. And also the microplastic amount of microplastic that we inhale in the masks. So better to switch to, I'm also having a commercial one, better to switch to cotton cloth ones. At least wear it inside so that we will not be inhaling. There are studies on people looking at how much is out there in the air, how much we are inhaling. The amount of plastic that was calculated or rather estimated as one, the credit card size is also through inhalation. It's not only through food and water, but through inhalation. So there's a lot of happening without us knowing. So what can we do is the next question. So everybody knows that microplastic pollution or plastic pollution is out there and it's a problem. So we don't have to, repeat that, but monitoring how much is there in food and how much is in the environment is important still. And also, what are the health hazards due to ingestion of microplastic? It's still a big question. So a lot of research is being going on in human. I'm not talking about plastic ingestion, but microplastic ingestion, how it affects the humans. For example, ingestion of microplastic in sea salt, how does that affect humans? How do you develop a method to remove microplastics from food? I think removing from salt is a solution. But implementing, somebody has to do these things. And also one of the most effective one is making people aware. Community awareness should start from the school. Kids, very effective. And also media. Media is nowadays, they can switch everything upside down. So if the media is being aware, if you make the media aware and get the message to the community, that's a very effective way of reaching it to the community and kind of getting people to do what you want to do. And then finally, this is some, everybody knows about this. The shipwreck happened last year, and still it has been under investigation. I'm not sure whether there are talks based on this. Lalit is involved in aftermath of this, and the damage done, we call it unmeasurable, and also probably the worst maritime disaster in Sri Lanka in its history. So this is still being investigated, what is happening. Good thing is we had some background information about the level of microplastic in beach sand. So now we can compare before and after. How much is there in, and how much is there in sea salt, for example. So those numbers that I presented before the shipwreck, we did the sampling in 2020. All right, so that kind of concludes my presentation.